Hi everyone, today we are talking about coordinate plane problems. As a reminder, you do not need to write down everything that we'll cover in this video, but be sure to jot down important information and at least one example of each type of problem that we'll cover. Also remember that you can pause the video to jot down important notes, rewind to view information again, and fast forward if you think you already got it. Just be careful, make sure you don't fast forward too much that you end up missing out on something important. So since we're talking about coordinate plane problems, it's mostly just an application of what you've learned previously. So we're going to do a quick review of what we talked about before. So in order to be successful in these problems, you need to remember how to plot an ordered pair on the coordinate plane. So remember that you start off on the origin and you're going to walk to the x value, the first number in the ordered pair, and then from there, you're going to fly either up or down to get to the second value, which is the y. So wherever those two values meet up, that's where you're going to plot your point. The other thing you should remember is the names of the quadrants on your coordinate plane. There are 4 quadrants because those two axes divide your coordinate plane into 4 areas. And remember that it goes in a counterclockwise formation, and it kind of makes a C or a Q for quadrant. And it's going to start with quadrant 1 on the top right-hand corner. Quadrant 1 has all positive values for your x's and your y's. X's here, y's up and down. The opposite is quadrant 3, diagonal to it, and that's going to have your negative values for both x's and y's. X's here and then y's. And then quadrant 2 is right next to quadrant 1. That has your negative x's, you're walking, and then your positive y's, you're flying. Quadrant 4 is the direct opposite of that. Positive x's, negative y's. So if you don't have that in your notes, please make sure you jot that down because you're going to need that information to be successful. Let's take a look at some examples. So in this problem, Patrick graphed, and the graph is shown below, the high temperatures in degrees Celsius that he experienced on each day of his trip to Homer, Alaska. They want to know, what is the meaning of point A? What's the meaning of point A? Does it tell us that the high temperature on the 4th day was 7 degrees below zero? Was it above zero? Does it tell us the high temperature on the 7th day was 4 degrees below zero or above zero? So you're going to choose one of them. Pause the video and try it on your own first. Okay, so we want to know for point A. So point A is this one right here. So that means I can ignore all these other points. Let me go ahead and put it in this color so I see that it's this one we're looking at. These answer choices look very confusing. A lot of them sound very similar. So I'm going to actually ignore that for now and just take a look at the problem. I want to find the ordered pair for A. So I'm going to start from the origin and I'm going to walk until I get to A. I'm walking 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So 4 is my x value. Then I'm going to fly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. I'm flying up 7. So 4 and 7. Still not very helpful because I have 4s and 7s in my answer, right? So I'm going to take a look at my axes. X is actually the day. So my x value, my first number, should be the day. And the y axis represents the degrees Celsius. So my second number is the degrees Celsius. So it should be the 4th day. This point tells us on the 4th day, the highest temperature was 7 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to eliminate all the ones that don't say the 4th day. So I'm going to eliminate all the ones that don't say the 4th day. These all say 7th day, so that's not good. Okay, so I'm between A and B. The highest temperature on the 4th day, was it 7 degrees below zero or above zero? Well, this is a normal 7. When it's a normal number, we can assume it's a positive. So this is a positive 7. If it's a positive 7, that means on the thermometer, it's above the 0. It's a positive number. The negative numbers are below 0. So this should be above 0, not below 0. Below 0 would be negative 7. This is a positive 7. So you should have gotten B as your answer. Let's try another problem. In this problem, Juan graphed the relationship between the temperature and the change in the number of people sledding at a park. The x-coordinate is the temperature in degrees Celsius, and the y-coordinate is the change in the number of people who are sledding. Which quadrant could contain a point showing 2 degrees Celsius below 0 and a decrease of 7 people sledding? Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. Okay, so in order to solve this problem, I'm going to need to read the problem again because there's some interesting information I want to pay attention to. They said that the x-coordinate is the temperature in degrees Celsius. That's right here, the x. So I'm going to label that. And then the y-coordinate is the change in the number of people who are sledding. So I'm going to label that as well. Change in people sledding. Remember, later on, my x number has to go first, then my y. So x is going to be the degrees Celsius. Y is going to be the change in people sledding. Okay, so that's going to give me a hint. They want to know which quadrant would contain a point showing 2 degrees Celsius below 0. Degrees Celsius is that x, so it's going to be 2, and it's below 0. So instead of a positive 2, it's going to be a negative 2. Okay, because x, they said, is the temperature in degrees Celsius, and this one is 2 degrees Celsius below 0. So that has to be in the first spot, not the second spot. The second spot is for a change in people sledding. They told us it was a decrease of 7 people sledding. So instead of a normal 7, it's going to be a negative 7 because it's a decrease. Positive will be an increase of people sledding. So they're really talking about the point -2, -7. So if I were to use my patterns, I would remember that my first quadrants are all positives, and the opposite one, the diagonal, would be all negatives. And then this one right here is negative for the x's, positive for the y's, and this one is the opposite, positive then negative. So this is both negative, so that would be quadrant 3. The other way you can figure it out is to actually graph it. So -2, I would start at the origin. I would walk 2 spots to -2, 1, 2, and then I would fly down to -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, it would end up in quadrant 3. So our answer is quadrant 3. Okay. So a lot of these problems are going to integrate what the x and the y actually mean. So you do have to pay attention to the order and how they label it, and try to remember your patterns for your quadrants. Let me know if you have any questions as you work on these problems, and I'll be seeing you in class.